You ever notice how a narcissist disappears, but somehow feels closer than ever, like they're not talking to you, but they're watching everything you do? That silence isn't peace. It's a signal, a calculated message, because when they do this one thing, it means they're not gone. They're waiting for you to break the silence, and the reason why reveals exactly how much control they think they still have. Think about the behavior pattern. They pull back. Stop texting, stop calling, but moments later they're orbiting your life, viewing your stories within seconds, liking an old post, leaving digital footprints everywhere. This isn't coincidence. It's engineering. They're creating tension. They want you to feel the gap and then rush to close it. When a narcissist wants you to reach out, they don't show neediness. They show signals, small, strategic. They post something that mirrors the exact insecurity they planted in you. They send a vague "hey" after days of silence. They talk to mutual friends just enough so the message gets back to you. They create friction, curiosity, or emotional pressure because they understand something. Silence makes you think. Thinking makes you feel, and feeling makes you act. When a narcissist stops communicating suddenly but continues monitoring you, it creates a psychological trap designed to pull you toward them without their having to ask. The silence they use is never real silence. It's a calculated pause, a strategic withdrawal, a moment where they step back just far enough to make you feel their absence, but stay close enough to watch how you respond to it. They want you to notice the gap. They want you to wonder what happened. They want you to feel the tension of the missing interaction. But at the same time, they want to maintain control, and monitoring you from the background gives them that control without exposing any of their vulnerability. They may stop texting or calling, but they'll be the first one to watch your stories. They'll scroll through your posts, check your updates, maybe even revisit old photos. Sometimes they use alternate accounts or mutual connections, all to keep a silent pulse on your life. They're gathering emotional information, seeing whether you miss them, whether you're moving on, whether you seem affected, or whether you appear too calm for their comfort. Every view, every silent observation is part of their internal calculation. This behavior isn't about closure, it's about control. Narcissists depend on the emotional responses of others to stabilize their sense of self. When you pull away or go quiet, they experience a loss of that emotional fuel. But instead of reaching out directly, which might make them look vulnerable or needy, they watch from a distance. They want to see if you'll break first. They want the reassurance that even in silence, they still matter. They still influence your emotions, and they still hold space in your mind. Their monitoring becomes a form of communication you're not supposed to recognize consciously, but are meant to feel subconsciously. It's their way of staying connected without taking responsibility, their way of staying present without appearing invested. And when you finally reach out, they interpret it as proof that their strategy worked and that the power remains in their hands. When a narcissist stays active on your social media right after disappearing, it's one of the strongest signs they're waiting for you to reach out while pretending they don't care. The timing is never random. They withdraw from direct contact, but moments later they appear online, watch your stories like something old, or suddenly become active at the exact moments you are. This isn't coincidence. It's their way of staying present in your mind without having to send a message that exposes their ego. They want you to see them viewing your life. They want you to notice their digital footprints. They want you to wonder why they're watching you but not talking to you. This tactic lets them hold both positions at once. They get to maintain the illusion of detachment while still tracking your emotional response. If you post something sad, they interpret it as a sign you miss them. If you post something happy, they wonder if you're moving on. If you post nothing, they get anxious and check even more often. Your social media becomes their silent scoreboard, a way to measure how much influence they still have in your life. They use this passive monitoring to keep the emotional connection alive without taking responsibility for maintaining it. It's a form of control that feels indirect but is incredibly intentional. They watch to see if you'll post something aimed at them, something nostalgic, something thoughtful, something reactive. They want to see if the distance they created is affecting you. If it is, they feel powerful. If it isn't, they feel threatened and look for more ways to pull your attention back. What makes this tactic so manipulative is that it's invisible to everyone except you. To outsiders, they look absent, uninterested, detached. But you see their views on every story. You feel the pressure of their silent presence. And because they aren't contacting you directly, you're left with questions instead of answers. That uncertainty is the hook. It keeps you thinking, analyzing, wondering, and eventually reaching out to break the tension they engineered. When a narcissist creates small disruptions to get your attention indirectly, it's one of their most quietly manipulative tactics. They want you to feel pulled toward them without their having to make a clear move, because clarity would expose need, and need would damage their ego. Instead, they manufacture tiny emotional disturbances, just enough to make you look their way, think about them, or question what's happening. These disruptions are intentionally subtle because subtlety gives them deniability. They can always pretend it meant nothing while still achieving the exact reaction they were aiming for. These disruptions often start with small digital gestures. They might suddenly like an old post, the kind no one accidentally stumbles upon. They may view your stories immediately, then disappear again. They could leave a cryptic status update, a sad lyric, a bold quote, or a picture aimed at sparking curiosity or jealousy. Sometimes they create a small wave in your social circle, mention you lightly in conversation so the message gets back to you, or act slightly off with mutual friends so you start to wonder why. These disruptions are designed to hit your emotional radar, even if they look insignificant on the surface. The purpose is simple. They want you to react first. If you ask what's happening, if you check on them, if you respond emotionally, they regain control. Your reaction restores their sense of power, because in their world, attention equals influence. These disruptions work because they mimic randomness, making you question whether you're overthinking. Narcissists count on that uncertainty. They want you to fill in the blanks, to chase clarity they won't provide, to lean in because the emotional noise they created makes you uncomfortable. What makes this tactic especially manipulative is that they create the disturbance while positioning themselves as passive. They start the emotional ripple, but wait for you to create the splash. These small disruptions are not accidental, not harmless, and not meaningless. They are psychological nudges, deliberately timed and carefully delivered, meant to pull you back into their orbit without them ever having to step forward directly. When a narcissist keeps mutual connections updated about you, it's never casual and it's never innocent. It's a controlled system they build to gather information about your emotional state while avoiding any direct communication with you. They don't want to reach out themselves because that would reveal vulnerability. So instead, they use people around you as emotional messengers. These mutual connections become their eyes and ears, often without realizing they're being used. The narcissist asks small, harmless sounding questions: how you're doing, whether you've said anything, whether you seem upset or calm. But beneath those simple questions is a very specific motive. They want to know exactly how much space they still occupy in your mind. This information gives them psychological leverage. If they hear you're sad or confused, they feel powerful. If they hear you're angry, they feel relevant. If they hear you're moving on, they feel threatened. Every update they gather becomes part of their internal calculation about when or how they should reappear. They don't want to waste effort, so they use indirect contact to decide whether you're still emotionally reachable. It's a strategy that lets them stay in control while keeping their ego safe. But they don't just gather information, they also plant it. They subtly feed these same mutual connections comments meant to reach you. They might act calm, as if nothing bothers them. They might play the victim, subtly implying they're confused or hurt. They might even pretend they've moved on to spark jealousy. Everything they say is engineered to shape the version of them you get to hear, all without them having to risk talking to you directly. This indirect communication allows them to keep emotional distance while staying deeply involved. It gives them the ability to influence how you feel about them without showing any personal effort. And because it happens through people you know, it feels natural, even though it's completely intentional. When a narcissist starts doing this, it's a clear sign they're still invested, still tracking you, and still waiting to see if you'll be the one to break the silence first. When a narcissist begins posting things designed to provoke jealousy or curiosity, it's one of the clearest signals they're waiting for you to reach out without having to message you directly. These posts are never random. They're crafted with precision, meant to hit your emotions in a way that makes you pause, feel something, and eventually act. They disappear from your messages, but suddenly become loud and intentional online. They know you'll see it. They want you to see it. And they use that visibility as a tool. The content they post often shifts dramatically. They might suddenly start showing off confidence, new friendships, new people, or a happier lifestyle than before. Sometimes it's a quote that indirectly resembles something you two shared. Sometimes it's a photo that hints they've moved on or found new attention. In other moments, it's vague sadness or emotional statements meant to make you worry. Every piece is designed to stir emotion: jealousy, confusion, curiosity, nostalgia, or concern. What they're really doing is creating an emotional imbalance. They want you wondering why they posted it, who they're with, what they're feeling, or what they're trying to say. Narcissists rely heavily on attention as a form of control, and when you go silent, they lose the steady supply they relied on. Instead of reaching out directly and risking rejection, they use social media as a stage. It allows them to look powerful, desired, busy, or healed, even when they're none of those things underneath. They check whether you viewed the story, they analyze how quickly you saw it, they wait to see if your behavior changes afterward. Your reaction or lack of one becomes information for them. If you seem affected, they feel in control again. If you ignore it, they often escalate the intensity of their posts to get a stronger pull on your emotions. These posts are not about self-expression. They are bait. They're meant to trigger a response and pull you back into their orbit without them having to risk their pride. When they start posting like this, it's because they want you back in the conversation, but only on terms that keep them feeling superior and untouchable. When a narcissist mirrors your behavior, it's one of the most subtle yet manipulative tactics they use to regain control while staying hidden. This isn't imitation out of admiration or empathy. It's a calculated strategy meant to destabilize you emotionally. They watch your patterns closely, how you withdraw, how you react, how you communicate, and then they replicate those behaviors back at you in ways that create uncertainty. If you go quiet, they go quiet. If you pull back, they pull back more intensely. By reflecting your actions, they make you question your own behavior, your judgment, and your feelings. This uncertainty is the exact tension they want because it can provoke you to reach out first. The mirroring also serves as a test. Narcissists want to see if you break under the pressure of their subtle psychological manipulation. By copying your distance or detachment, they create the illusion that they are in control, calm, and unaffected, when in reality, they are anxiously observing your reactions. Every small adjustment you make is analyzed. They are not responding to you emotionally, they are responding strategically. Their goal is to manipulate you into thinking that your behavior is driving the dynamic when actually they are orchestrating it. This tactic is effective because it leverages your own energy against you. The narcissist doesn't need to initiate contact. They let your curiosity, concern, or frustration drive the interaction. By mirroring, they also protect their ego. They can appear composed and detached while still manipulating the emotional environment to their advantage. This creates a psychological trap where you feel compelled to act or respond first, giving them the upper hand. Ultimately, when a narcissist mirrors your behavior, it's a clear sign they are waiting for you to engage. It's a silent signal that they are still invested, still monitoring, and still strategically working to pull you back into their orbit without ever having to appear vulnerable. The mirroring is not connection. It is manipulation designed to maintain control over the dynamic. When a narcissist acts unusually calm while you are feeling uncertain or anxious, it's a deliberate tactic meant to provoke you into breaking the silence first. This calmness is rarely genuine. Behind the composed exterior, they are intensely focused on your reactions, monitoring every detail to see if you will reach out. By presenting themselves as unbothered, they create a psychological imbalance. They want you to feel the emotional weight while they maintain control. Their calm is a tool, a way to manipulate without direct confrontation, making you the one who must initiate contact to resolve the tension. This behavior is grounded in control and strategy. Narcissists cannot tolerate losing influence, and when you withdraw or go silent, they feel a vacuum that threatens their ego. Instead of reacting overtly, which would make them appear vulnerable, they project a sense of detachment. They let the uncertainty sit in the air while observing how you handle it. This forces you into overthinking, wondering whether they are truly fine, whether they miss you, or whether you should make the first move. The calmness is designed to make you doubt yourself, to create curiosity, and to pull you into the interaction on their terms. At the same time, this tactic gives them flexibility. They appear composed in front of others, reinforcing their image as confident and unshakable. Meanwhile, they are internally calculating, planning, and waiting for the optimal moment to re-engage. They rely on your emotional response as a measure of their power and influence. Every hesitation, every reaction from you is data they can use to adjust their strategy. ensuring they maintain the upper hand in the dynamic. Ultimately, when a narcissist remains unusually calm in the face of your withdrawal or distance, it is not a sign of disinterest. It is a calculated maneuver, signaling that they are waiting for you to make the first move. Their calmness masks intense observation and strategic patience, all aimed at drawing you back into their orbit while keeping the illusion of control firmly in their hands. In conclusion, every subtle action a narcissist takes, whether it's sudden silence, monitoring your social media, creating small disruptions, keeping mutual connections updated, posting to provoke emotion, sending vague messages, mirroring your behavior, or projecting calm, is never accidental. Each behavior is a carefully calculated signal designed to pull you back into their orbit while keeping them emotionally protected. They are waiting for you to make the first move, to break the silence, and to give them the validation and control they crave. Understanding these patterns gives you clarity and power. Recognizing their tactics allows you to stay grounded, maintain your boundaries, and refuse to be manipulated. The key is to see through the strategy, protect your emotional energy, and realize that your silence and strength are the very tools that strip their influence away. When you refuse to respond on their terms, you reclaim your power, dismantle their control, and create space for peace and emotional freedom.